That should be right. Okay, guys, good morning. It's currently, let me check my clock. It's actually 7 o'clock. I woke up bright and early, even though it's like the dead of winter right now. We'll still call it bright and early because that's just the mentality you gotta have to be able to wake up so early every single day. 4:25 woke up. Admittedly, I did wake up a bit later. My alarm went off. I really just felt like shit, honestly. Even though I only got 7 hours of sleep, it felt like I've only had like 5 hours or something. So again, it really comes down to like the quality of your sleep rather than how long you actually sleep. But I felt like I slept like a rock. But anyway, I just dreaded the thought of having to get up. But I got up anyways. No excuses. Got up at 4:30 actually. Made my bed. Yeah, okay, I just had to make sure because I meditated and read in my bed just before. Made my bed. Sorry, that was a little voice crack. Made my bed, drank 16 ounces of water with some salt mixed into it for the electrolytes. What else? And then we did push-ups till failure. The goal is actually 50 push-ups, but I could only pump out 35. To be honest, if I had really pushed myself, which I feel like a bitch for not doing, if I really had pushed myself, I probably could have hit 50, but that mind was holding me back. Anyways, I'm kind of veering off the point for this video. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how I got my bench from a measly 45 kilos and I increased that to 110 kilos. While only putting on around, actually 15 kilos is quite a lot to put on, but you guys get the point. I'm not super heavyweight, yet I still bench a lot, or what a lot of people would consider a lot, because I see a bunch of dudes like the weight 20 kilos more than me bench like the same or even less than me. So in comparison to my body weight, I would say that I bench enough compared to my body weight to be a credible source to take advice from, if that makes sense. Right now, I weigh in at about 69 kilos. I haven't weighed myself because my scale is kind of broken. So it actually shows like 2 kilos less than what I actually weigh. I weigh around 70 right now. A week ago, I weighed around 69 kilos. But these are some of the tips and tricks that I wish I knew at the start of my journey, which could have helped me bench even more than I do right now if I knew them back then. So if you're just starting out with the gym or powerlifting in general, then you clicked on the right video, and hopefully you can learn something and implement the things I teach. So yeah, I'm just going to be showing some footage from my most recent bench session, as well as that's actually just it. I'm just going to be showing what I kind of do when setting up my bench to generate as much power as possible and be as efficient as possible when benching. If you're training for hypertrophy, I kind of have mixed feelings about benching for hypertrophy. I think it's a very good exercise to kind of build a foundation. You're gonna hear a lot of people say the same thing as me, but it's a really like good fundamental exercise to build general overall upper body strength. But if you're like more into your later stages of strength training or bodybuilding, whatever, or just your fitness journey, I need a more general term for it, then I would recommend, if you're actually like focused on hypertrophy, I wouldn't recommend barbell benching because it's not really like effective. Well, yeah, if you have a big bench of a big chest, right? But that's kind of just a symptom of having a big chest. That's a big bench. But actually getting a big chest comes from other exercises. But yeah, obviously a bench press would contribute somewhat to it, but it won't maximize your muscle hypertrophy. If you're actually looking to grow your chest, I would recommend doing something like dumbbell bench press and incline dumbbell bench press, or various machines like hammer strength incline and the Smith machine, because it actually enables you to get like a proper stretch and a proper squeeze at the top. So yeah, that'll just be more optimal for muscle growth. But obviously, if you're a power lifter, which I kind of consider myself a power builder. I'm trying to gain muscle and build strength, or build muscle and gain strength at the same time. So therefore, I still incorporate bench pressing in my training. But anyways, to the bench pressing, let's get into the juicy part of this video. So when I bench, I don't actually have the clip playing right now, but I'll just put it over the video. When I bench, I essentially, I'll try to describe it and I'll put some footage over me speaking. But I usually warm up. Warm-ups are very important to mitigate the risk of injury and also just make you feel more confident when benching. Not just feel confident, but actually be, stronger, just be stronger and more, feel better when benching, I guess. But the main reason to warm up is obviously to decrease the risk of getting a nasty injury, which might hinder your progress in the future. Because if you get an injury, you probably won't be able to train as well, or maybe you won't even be able to train at all. If you've seen videos like Mike from the Trent Twins getting a picture, like that guy's winter arc is fucking done for because he tore his pec. So that's why it's really important to try to train safely but also effectively at the same time. So I usually start off by warming up with I try to warm up my rotator cuffs. Warming up your rotator cuffs is like super important because when you're benching, they help stabilize your shoulders, which play a really crucial role when benching because you're literally utilizing your shoulder joint when benching. It's not just the chest. It's not an isolation exercise. It's a compound exercise. So it uses a bunch of upper body muscles, even your back, which I mentioned in a short, one of my previous shorts. I made a video covering the topic of why having a strong back is super helpful when bench pressing. So I usually do some rotator cuffs. I'll play a clip in the background of me doing it. And then I also go on to warm up with some cables. I usually try to keep it quite simple. I don't want to overdo it, or else it'll just turn into its own kind of workout, because I don't want the warm up to be a workout for itself, right? It'll be kind of stupid and a waste of energy. So yeah, I do some cable rotator cuff things. Both to pulling back for the rear delt, and also to the side, which is more like rotator cuff focused, if that makes sense. I need to quit saying if that makes sense, because everything I say makes sense, hopefully. I just need to make sure you guys are on check. So next thing I do is I warm up my back. I just get the blood flowing to my back and get that primed. For that, I usually do a cable row with a close grip. Nothing too crazy. And I keep it light. I just want to get the blood flowing. I usually only do around 50 or 40 kilos. Really making sure I get a good stretch and a good squeeze during the concentric. I actually used to do pull-ups for warm-ups, but that only really targets your lats primarily. But the benefit of doing, or the pro of doing a cable row with a close grip, is that you can also you can target kind of the entire back, if that makes sense, both your lats, your traps, and all of the remaining back muscles to some extent. While it might not be full on specifically focused on every muscle. It just gets the overall blood flowing to the back, which helps give your bench a really good foundation. And another upside of doing warming up your back is that it also kind of warms up your rear delts even more. So yeah, but anyways, let's actually show me benching. So when benching, no matter how much I can bench, I always start out with the bar just to get a feel for the form, and kind of try to be very form focused and very technique focused during the warm-ups using lighter weights. So always start with the bar, and then usually I go on to either 40 or 60 kilos. For this session, I did increments of 40 and then went on to 60 and then 80. So actually increments of 20 kilos around that. So half a plate increments. It doesn't really matter. Whatever feels best for you, you do, as long as you feel warmed up and ready to go. So yeah, I start with the bar, and then I'm trying to remember what I did in the video because I don't have the clip playing right now. I have this like ring light thing going on. Then I go on to 40 kilos. I kind of didn't follow my own, I don't know, principles here, because I kind of went crazy with 40 kilos. I mean, I was just having fun at that point. I was filming with a friend, so I don't know. I was just in a more like, I don't know, giddy mood, if that makes sense. So I just kind of toyed around with 40 kilos because, you know, when you're so strong, like, come on now. But, you know, what else? Yeah, then I went on to 60 kilos. Here I was actually like a bit more like form focused, and one thing I'd like to mention when benching, I totally forgot to mention this, like I was too focused on explaining my warm-up, but one thing I have started incorporating when benching recently is that I dig. Okay, I'll play the clips while explaining this, but I'll dig my back into the bench while lifting my butt up, and I'll just make sure I'm like solidly planted into the bench before I go on to actually bench. And then I unrack while my butt is still lifted above the bench, and then yeah, I got the bar unracked and I pull it down over my chest. When unracking, I like to have the bar around eye level, so here. And the reason for this is that the bar is not supposed to travel in a vertical path, because that's just a waste of energy, right? It's harder to push the bar directly up and down. It's kind of easier if you like bench in a J kind of formation, kind of a J shape. So it goes from your kind of like shoulder level, down to your chest and up to shoulder level again. And in terms of, and then you also get to like utilize more different like muscle groups like your shoulders, triceps, and you're gonna get better like chest activation as well. So rather than using your shoulders so much and potentially getting an injury. Another thing that I like to keep in mind when benching is that I retract my shoulder blades. When driving or when digging my back into the bench, I make sure I'm conscious about retracting my scapulas, and then because I'll isolate more of your chest, if you imagine this, that'll isolate more of your chest rather than making it a shoulder focused movement. So yeah, unracked, my butt is off the bench, bring the bar out to around like my neck, and then go to bench. Actually no, before I go to bench, I set my butt down. When setting your butt down, it kind of creates an arch, but in order to have this arch, you gotta like imagine that you're kind of pulling your butt towards your head. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you're trying to pull it towards the back of your head to create as much arch as possible. Again, don't go overboard with the arch because it's got to be able to count in competition, right? But just arch to the point where your entire body is stiff and stable. It's not like wiggling all over the place. You got to be completely like rigid and have all your energy channeled into the bench. I'm trying to think again. What else? Oh shit, my computer just fucking died. The sun is starting to come up, if you guys can see that. It's crazy. Oh yeah, so I was talking about the arch, right? So now I have lowered my butt to the bench. Now I have a kind of like somewhat of an arch, which is actually proper bench form. A lot of people say, oh, arching is cheating, but it's actually like how you're supposed to bench if you see powerlifting stuff, because it actually activates the right muscles. It activates more of your chest and the muscles you're supposed to use instead of, and it'll also help prevent injury. Oh yeah, and a topic I wanted to cover is my foot placement. This really varies from person to person. It's all up to preference and what feels best for you. Foot placement and leg drive. So when I'm benching heavy, if I'm benching like over 100 kilos, I'm really dependent on leg drive as well. So essentially, how leg drive works, you're basically like I don't know, for people who don't get it or haven't heard about it, it's basically when you use your legs and kind of like push them or shove them, like make a shoving motion, which drives more like energy into the bench. It goes like through your body from the ground into your bench. It's kind of hard to explain, but it helps with your bench at least. So when I leg drive during my bench, I make sure while setting up my bench, while I'm not even under a bar or anything, that my legs are as far in as possible, like as far back as possible, without my heels lifting off the ground. So you create a lot of tension before you go to lay down on the bench. And when you finally lay down on the bench, if you feel like you can like move it in a bit more, then do that by all means. When you already have the bench and you're ready to bench, as you're lowering the bar, try to like create tension through your quads, kind of pretend like you're doing a leg extension. And then when you go to push the bar off your chest, kind of pretend like you're doing, like I mentioned before, do a leg extension, but even harder, like really like boom, like, but outwards. Don't push your feet directly downwards, or else your butt is gonna lift off the bench, and that's incorrect form, and it won't count in powerlifting if you're a powerlifter. So kind of imagine, or don't imagine, actually do this, but it really helps to imagine it as well, to kind of manifest it. But like kind of imagine you're doing a leg extension and your legs are shooting outwards, like shooting outwards towards like whatever's out there, away from you, and that'll help you generate a little additional power when benching. But in terms of like different exercises to increase my overall bench, besides just like the technique tweaks, then I do a bunch of like different exercises to strengthen my chest. Obviously, train your chest with a bunch of different machines and stuff. That I like to incorporate in my bench program is that I like to do some things where I don't rely on leg drive, like a Larson press, or I do spotted bench sometimes, where like, you keep the bar like, right above your chest, hold it there for like a few seconds, and you push the bar off. Just like exercises or bench variations that help make the weight feel harder and also improve your technique, so that heavier weights with competition standard technique will feel way easier compared to that. So if you train these different variations, there's also something that I don't really incorporate that much is static holds, where you just like try to unrack a bunch of weight, because that'll like prime your nervous system to be able to handle a bunch of weight as well. So some variations I like to do: Larson press, spotted bench, and occasionally I like to do heavy static holds. The thing about static holds is that it's just like you look like a douchebag when training, if that makes sense. Like you're just like, you look like one of those like El Campeon ego lifter types, bro. Because you're not actually like doing anything. You're just like holding it there for as long as possible. But yeah, people of lower strength, lower bench numbers would understand that. So don't bother with their opinions anyways. Just focus on you and your goals. So other than that, I think that's basically it. Is there more to add to this video in terms of bench? Let me think. There's retracting your scapula, static, different bench press variations. But yeah, other than that, just like focus on your training. Train intensely during your chest days. If you're more strength focused, try to train towards more intensity rather than more volume. Because with more volume, you're just gonna tire yourself out. You're gonna tire your nervous system out. Rather just focus all your energy into a lot of intensity to get the most out of your training without fatiguing your body too much, which might inhibit your recovery. But yeah, I guess that's it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and or leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy it. And subscribe if you want to see more advice similar to this. If you guys have any questions regarding training or benching or just general powerlifting, then feel free to write down in the comments whatever you might be wondering about. But yeah, that's basically it. Good luck with your training, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.